Coming up, it encompasses more than 62,000 acres, employs nearly 6,000 civilians and contractors in Martin and parts of Greene and Lawrence counties. In our top story this week, we'll tell you about plans for tens of millions of dollars in investment and hundreds of new jobs at what continues to be an economic engine for Indiana. And harvesting talent. Agronovus Indiana has launched a new online tool, Field Atlas. CEO Mitch Frazier joins us to explain how the career exploration platform can play a key role in the state's emerging ag bioscience sector. Plus,
I'm Mary Rachel Redmond in Richmond, Indiana, inside one of the only Tiffany designed spaces in the country. But a clause found in a long-lost deed may entitle distant heirs to stake their claim. I'll have that story coming up.
Details on those stories and much more ahead on this edition of Inside Indiana Business. Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane Division. It's the third largest naval installation in the world by geographic area. Employs more than 3,700 civilians, 2,000 contractors as well. The largest numbers in more than 2 decades, and hiring continues there. Crane relies on partnerships, especially those with research institutions like IU, Purdue, and Notre Dame, and is raising its profile as an employer of choice with plans to add to hundreds of new high-paying jobs. Pleased to welcome to the show this week Naval Surface Warfare Center Acting Technical Director Dr. Kyle Werner and Corporate Operations Department Director Dr. Angie Lewis with more on hiring efforts and really what's happening down at Crane. And welcome to both of you this week.
Thank you, Gary. It's great to be back with you.
Yeah. Kyle,
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, I want to start with you, Kyle, to give us, for those who don't know, Crane is such an economic engine for the state of Indiana, not just southern Indiana. Give us a bit on the size and scope and operations there at Crane.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, yeah, here at Crane, we're nestled in the southwest portion of the state, about 63,000 acres, almost 100 square miles of property. Which represents a little over 300 buildings that we have active with the employee base that we have of roughly 3,750 civilians and 2,000 contractors. We do a large amount of business annually with about $1.5 billion of annual total obligation authority, and really have 3 distinct mission sets that we support and have become really well known for, that have been the steadfast focus of the command for over the past decade.
We'll talk about a little bit more about that in a moment, but Angie, in terms of the hiring, you know, the pandemic has certainly put a wrinkle in the plans of a lot of operations. At Crane, the hiring has continued in a big way and is expected to continue into next year as well.
Absolutely, that is correct. We at Crane are open for business. We have learned how to operate with a large percentage of our workforce in a virtual type environment. Hiring over the past 3 years has been in excess of 1,500 positions, and our outlook for fiscal year 21 that will begin in October is upwards of 300 additional positions. And really, you know, we've got a very technical workforce focused on science and technology. We are hiring electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, computer scientists. We also hire electronic technicians and a lot of business professionals as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned a highly skilled and technical workforce, 1,100 hires over the last 3 years, and as you said, you're going to be hiring 3 more in the years ahead. Kyle, just to give us an example, hydrosonic technology, I think, is one of the real partnership areas with the University of Notre Dame. That's leading to a massive investment. Talk about that. Don't have a lot of time remaining, but talk about that and what it will mean.
Yeah, Gary. So that particular area ties directly to our strategic mission set that we have here on base that really is all about supporting the nation's nuclear triad. And in that area, there is an emerging mission of hypersonic technology that's probably familiar to a lot of your viewers. What they may not know is the Navy plays a particularly large role in that area. And here at Crane, we're providing the support for that. And it's involving a variety of different technologies that are critical to allow us to field hypersonic capability. One of those is to be able to test at the speeds that they will see at Mach 8 and Mach 10. So in close partnership with both Purdue University and University of Notre Dame, working to develop advanced test capabilities with wind tunnels. Notre Dame specifically, we awarded a contract earlier this year for a little over $8 million where they're building a Mach 10 wind tunnel, one of the highest capability wind tunnels across the country. And just know that that has got the potential to drive a lot of additional research investment here in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, big investment to be sure. Angie, employer of choice, that's a real focus there at Crane as you try to not only keep but attract some really elite talent. Talk about that effort to really become an employer of choice.
So, we are out throughout the months of September and October doing national level recruiting at more than 36 sites, 9 university sites within the state of Indiana. And we're hosting a virtual career fair in October on the 22nd. And for all of those skill categories that I mentioned, we have large hiring requirements. And we really try to offer a great culture for employees to come in and to be a part of a highly relevant national team of experts that are delivering preeminent capability for the nation's warfighters.
Well, again, it is a major economic engine, not only for Southern Indiana, but the state. There at Crane, Dr. Kyle Werner, also Dr. Angie Lewis, thank you very much for joining us. We will be following the story as you continue to get investment and add hundreds of jobs there. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Big news this week from the Big Ten as its Council of Presidents and Chancellors unanimously voted to resume the conference football season beginning in late October. Now, the vote follows the adoption of, quote, significant medical protocols related to COVID-19, including daily antigen testing, enhanced cardiac screening, and data-driven decisions about holding practices and games. The conference says the daily testing will begin September 30. Presidents and chancellors voted in August to postpone all fall sports, including football. The change in course means the football season will resume the weekend of October 23rd, 24th, with a championship game set for December 19 at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indy. There will also be a Champions Week leading up to that, where teams from each division will square off in what will be their 9th games of the season. Big Ten officials expect to have a full schedule announced very soon. Coming up next, an innovative new initiative to fuel growth in the state's ag bioscience economy. AgriNovus Indiana with an edgy way to get the attention of Indiana students thinking about careers in the booming ag bioscience industry. Up next, AgriNovus CEO Mitch Frazier explains Field Atlas. It's time now to go inside innovation, brought to you by Allegion, pioneering safety. Well, AgriNovus Indiana says it has found a new way to help high school and college students find careers in the ag biosciences industry. Field Atlas is an online tool that provides students with insight into the diverse professions that are available in agriculture. And I'm pleased to welcome back to the show, as always, AgriNovus Indiana CEO Mitch Frazier with more on how this career exploration platform could really be a key to fueling the state's ag bioscience sector. And again, as always, Mitch, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Gary. Great to be here. And thanks for the opportunity to share what we're working on at Field Atlas.
Yeah, before we get into Field Atlas, tee this up for us, because we talk about it, I think, every week, the importance of talent and Indiana keeping talent, but also attracting talent here. How critical is that when you look at the ag bioscience space?
Talent is the lifeblood of any economy. And as we look specifically at the ag bioscience economy here in Indiana, it's the diversity of that talent from vocational perspectives that is so absolutely critical. It's so easy for us to think of the ag biosciences as biologists and agronomists and veterinarians, but this is an industry that it far expands across every facet of business, whether it be software development, whether it be AI specialists, whether it be finance and marketing people. The ag bioscience has something for everyone and a phenomenal platform to be able to make a real difference in the world.
Well, let's talk about what we're talking about here, Field Atlas, which I know you and others at AgriNova is promoting that as more than a website.
That's exactly right, Gary. So we launched Field Atlas as part of our strategy to say, how do we connect with folks in high schools, in colleges, and universities to help them understand that this is a career, this is a career opportunity that exists no matter where you are, whether you're in finance or marketing, whether you're in agronomy or whether you're in AI, there is something here for you. What I'm so delighted about with Field Atlas is we built this as a platform, first a digital experience where students want to be, they want to go, and they want to hear from young people like themselves. They want to hear from companies and what a culture in a company is like. And that is all part of Field Atlas. But we're taking a different step, or another step with Field Atlas, and that's putting Field Atlas ambassadors, students that work for AgriNova Indiana, on Indiana college campuses. They're going to school, and they're also working for us part-time to be that conduit, to be that peer-to-peer network to help those in their classes, whether it be a finance class or a tech class, understand what opportunities exist here in the ag biosciences.
Major initiative with Field Atlas, certainly in the multi-billion-dollar ag bioscience sector in Indiana. We'll be following this story. Before we leave, Mitch, I know there's yet another initiative you have going on, the Producer-Led Innovation Challenge, which is coming up.
That's exactly right, Gary. Registration ends September 25th. You can go to agrinovusindiana.com/challenge, find out all the details. Cliff Notes is this, is we've gone to Indiana farmers, producers, ask them what challenges they face on the farm, and then we've turned that into a challenge to reach out to our tech community and to academia to work together to bring together tech and ag in Indiana. Wouldn't have been possible without Purdue, without our friends at the Indiana Corn Marketing Council, Indiana Soybean Alliance. Really, really delighted. Indiana State Department of Agriculture, all coming together to bring tech and ag together here in Indiana to fuel our ag bioscience economy.
Well, to put it mildly, lots going on in the ag bioscience space in Indiana. Mitch Frazier, the president and CEO at AgriNova Indiana. Mitch, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Well, with 62 Tiffany stained glass windows, a historic organ, and dramatic architecture, Reed Memorial Presbyterian Church has served as a landmark in Richmond for nearly a century. But now it finds itself again on Indiana Landmark's 10 most endangered list. Around Indiana, reporter Mary Rachel Redmond will have the story. Here's what's making news now around Indiana, brought to you by Chapman Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. The man for all seasons, Chapman, chapmanheating.com. Officials in Marshall County have broken ground on a manufacturing facility in Plymouth. The Marshall County Economic Development Corporation says the 43,000 square foot facility is designed to attract new businesses to the region and will be the third manufacturing center it has developed. It will be located on Jim New Drive in Plymouth. Well, nestled on a main thoroughfare in Richmond sits a national treasure, one that's been empty since 2017. Around Indiana, reporter Mary Rachel Redmond goes inside the historic Reed Memorial Church to show that there's more than a century-old beauty that unfortunately faces an uncertain future.
It's not a name most Hoosiers have ever heard of. In the late 19th century, Daniel Reed amassed America's largest tin plate empire. eventually selling it to J.P. Morgan for $18 million.
He was already wealthy, but he was instantly fabulously wealthy. And right about that time is when we started getting some correspondence back here about him wanting to build this church.
A church Reed would spare no expense to build.
This church is almost like a time capsule to the turn of the century. It represents something that we do not see often in the preservation field, let alone in regular life. It's an example of a building that is completely intact with the Louis Comfort Tiffany.
Louis Comfort Tiffany was the son of iconic jeweler Charles Tiffany, founder of just about every woman's favorite little blue box. But instead of joining his father, the younger Tiffany made his name as a pioneer in the art of glassmaking.
He was the creator of a completely new technology and style when he created the Tiffany glass.
One of the things that makes them Tiffany windows is the fact that you've got layers of glass. If you look at the faces and the hands, the detail is painted on. This gentleman right here has got an extra little piece of glass that looks like a rock almost. It actually has some depth to it.
So you can never technically recreate a Tiffany piece of glass. He did die with the technology. He trained people that they don't know exactly how to do it. So we will never have another memorial that is Tiffany like this. It will never happen again.
The Tiffany signature on this window is
Complementing the Tiffany windows, a dramatic fan-vaulted ceiling, and historic Hook and Hastings organ, all original.
And the organ is a work of art in its own right. All of the pipes are on either side, and that has also been maintained well.
Another unique feature of this 114-year-old building is the Grand Bell Tower. As you can see, this building is pretty much as it was when it opened in 1906, from the original brick to these beautiful Tiffany windows. And right up these stairs are 14 church bells to the Church Bell Tower that are roughly about 5 feet each in height. But the bells have stopped ringing since Reed Memorial closed its doors to worship in 2017. Now the clock is ticking.
If the church ceases to be a Presbyterian church for a period of 10 years, then the property will revert back to the heirs. When the lawyers started looking at it, when the church actually shut down, that's when they discovered it. It's 100 years ago. Is that really still in effect?
We have people from across the nation that come to see this example of Tiffany. It is rare to find buildings like this in our area and have a community that is still highly dedicated to preserving this building. It is truly a gem for historic preservation.
There just can't be many structures around anywhere that rival this kind of artistry and history that are still in pretty good shape today. It's beautiful, and I know nobody wants to see anything happen to it.
Mary Rachel Redman, Inside Indiana Business.
Coming up next, Angie's List co-founder Angie Hicks on the merger 3 years later and a new hiring push. Stay with us. Well, 25 years ago, Angie Hicks and Bill Osterly co-founded Angie's List, a platform giving consumers access to reports and ratings on service providers in hundreds of categories. It quickly grew into a business that at one time employed nearly 2,000 people in Indianapolis. 3 years ago, Angie's List merged with Colorado-based Home Advisor to form Angie Home Services. How has the company evolved, and what's really driving a current hiring push? For some answers, we turn to Angie's List co-founder Angie Hicks. And Angie, as always, it's great to see you even virtually.
Great to see you too, Gary.
I mentioned it doesn't seem like it's been 3 years, but it has been 3 years since the combination with Home Advisor. How has it gone? How have these last 3 years gone?
It's gone really well. It's been fun to see renewed focus around the Angie's List brand and seeing it return to growth, which has been really exciting for all of us that work on the Angie's List brand in particular.
Yeah, well, as you look at the pandemic, it has impacted many businesses in a negative way, but some in a positive way. And you can make the argument, I think, that this has really benefited Angie's List as you look at we're all spending more time at home. We're doing more things at home, home office, education, all those types of things. That's really had an impact on the business.
Yeah, I really think the home is having a moment, and I think it's going to be long lasting after the pandemic. So, of course, over the last 6 months, we have spent all of our time focused around our home. Vacations were put on hold, and we turned to putting in swimming pools and doing landscaping. But it's really made us look around to see what things needed to be fixed up. It was interesting that, a good portion of people were using their stimulus money to actually invest in home improvements. And we're seeing that as we continue to go through the summer months here, which is the high season for home improvement.
Yeah, and you talk about investing money in home improvements. You mentioned pools. A lot of people, as we were talking off camera before the interview here, a lot of people, you say, are using this opportunity to install pools.
Absolutely. It's kind of funny because pools isn't typically a big category. I mean, it's, an in-ground pool is a big investment, obviously, but when vacations went on hold, people scrambled to figure out how they could make their backyard a little more fun. And the request for pool installation, whether it was in-ground or above ground, really went through the roof.
Yeah. Well, let's talk, Angie, because as you talk, and I know you reported a strong second quarter in terms of the numbers, that's also led to a hiring push. You're in the middle right now of hiring more employees. This is the company's second largest location outside of the company's headquarters in Denver. Talk about the hiring push. What kinds of jobs you're looking to fill?
We absolutely have a number of different types of openings. We have openings in our sales organization, both on the Angie's List side and the Home Advisor side. We have a Home Advisor sales office here in Indy as well. And then on the corporate side, product and tech, those positions that are always in high demand, we're looking for those too.
Okay, as we look going forward, you really do feel that this kind of changing dynamic of the home is going to be around for a while, so you anticipate this impacting the business going forward?
I think it's really going to be interesting. I think it's going to help push millennials into becoming homeowners who might have been a little hesitant, who had gone through quarantine living in an apartment, might say, hey, I might want a little more space if something like this would happen again. Also, the fact that many more companies are going to remote work. We might be able to attract some of those people that choose to live in New York or San Francisco because that's where their job is. If they can work remote, they might come here to Central Indiana. And I could see that driving more home ownership because it's obviously much more economical, especially in the Midwest.
Angie's List co-founder Angie Hicks. Angie, always great to see you. In a hiring mode, the footprint still substantial here. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Well, coming up, an unfortunate side effect of the pandemic, an alarming spike in the number of overdoses and relapses. In Fort Wayne, treatment used to mean a 2-hour drive. Not anymore, thanks to the arrival of Avenues Recovery Center. And our next half-hour Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta explains how it's filling a really big need in Allen County. Well, a new treatment center in Fort Wayne is taking aim at one side effect of the pandemic, relapse and overdose rates spiking dramatically. Avenues Recovery says before opening the location, people in Fort Wayne had to drive 2 hours to find a specialized treatment center. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has more. Kylie.
Thank you, Gary. Overdoses in Indiana have skyrocketed during the pandemic. The use of Narcan, which reverses an opioid overdose, has increased 35% statewide and in some counties more than 95%. In April, Narcan hit its highest use in Indiana history. The primary focus at Avenues Recovery Center is a 30-day residential substance abuse treatment program. The New Jersey-based company has 10 centers in the U.S., and the Fort Wayne location is its first in Indiana. Russ Frankham is the company's National Director of Clinical Engagement, and he joins me now to tell us more about this new treatment option in Fort Wayne. Russ, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so this pandemic, it really is having a dramatic effect on addiction in general. Explain what you're seeing and some of the reasons why these trends are happening.
Sure. So, I mean, the pandemic is obviously, it's an unprecedented time for everyone. We're all struggling with economic insecurity, job insecurity, housing insecurity, generalized kind of fear of the unknown, medical anxiety, fear of family members and of self. And that's just for all of us at the best of times. If you take the recovery community, people in early recovery and recovery in general really rely on coping skills, and they rely on routine to combat the daily obsession and desire to use. So they use things like going to the gym or going to therapy appointments or doing things in the community, attending AA and NA meetings. Now imagine all of a sudden, one day in the blink of an eye, all of those things being gone and not being able to access them anymore. People in recovery often say, move a muscle, change a thought when it comes to those intrusive thoughts and desires to use. But in lockdown, that's obviously become impossible in a lot of cases.
Right. You mentioned connection is really great for people fighting addiction. And of course, lack of connection right now is definitely a problem. So explain why Avenues chose Fort Wayne in particular and how you're really wanting to become part of the local community there.
Sure. So Fort Wayne, we identified as having a dearth of services. So we kind of wanted to bring our nationally recognized individualized care to this area. We want to become a true Fort Wayne treatment facility, not just a treatment facility located within Fort Wayne. How we do that is, we're going to open our doors and our campus to NA meetings, to AA meetings, Al-Anon meetings. We want to engage and partner with the local community in any way that we can. That includes local government, police and other emergency services. We're going to be utilizing Toys for Tot drives and backpack programs for kids going back to school. We're partnering with local treatment providers also in the local community because we really do believe it takes a village, so to speak, to kind of really combat addiction.
You mentioned even though you're a national conglomerate, you really work to become part of these local communities that you move into. Okay, so another important point is that you accept private insurance and Medicaid, and you're one of only a few private programs in the country that accepts Medicaid. Explain why that's so important.
Sure. So, I mean, we at Avenues, we want treatment to be inclusive rather than exclusive. And I think in order to really be a true local treatment facility, our community or our milieu needs to be truly representative of the community that we're housed within. If we don't widen the eligibility for people to enter our services and have the ability to say yes so much more than that we have to say no, then I think that we can't really truly be a true treatment facility in this local community. And adding the effects of the pandemic just makes that even more important. Unemployment in April of this year was at 15% in Indiana compared with 3.5% in September of 2019. So what we have so many more people utilizing Medicaid, and we want to be able to, again, help as many people in this local community as we possibly can.
Okay, so what has response been like? You've been open for a little over a month there. About how many clients do you have now? And what client base are you hoping to reach in the future?
Sure. So the response in general has been, great. We've been welcomed in with open arms. I feel like everyone was kind of waiting for a treatment center like ours to come into the local community. So from other treatment providers to local government, we had the mayor at our grand opening. It's been wonderful, and we're really starting to feel a part of that community. And I hope that the larger community at whole is feeling like we're a credit to it, and that's what we want. As far as our current census, when we open a new treatment center, what we like to do is a slow opening just to ensure that we can provide, that we are providing the highest level of clinical care possible. So as of right now, we have 20 clients, and that's a mix of both commercial. We work with all private insurance as well as Medicaid, and that kind of steadily raises, on a weekly basis. So eventually, the goal is to be our top census is going to be for 100, and we're going to try and kind of again, help as many people in this local community as we possibly can.
Okay, just a little bit of time left, but that building has an interesting story. It used to be a local hospital, and it was vacant for about 7 years, and you guys have really given it a major facelift. Just tell us about sort of the modern feel of that building now.
Sure. So it underwent, as you said, like a pretty dramatic facelift, and that was very strategic and well thought through. It's quite easy to provide really individualized treatment when you have 20 clients in treatment, but we wanted to ensure structurally that when we're at capacity, everyone feels truly individually taken care of, and it feels that intimate feel. We don't want to lose that. Anyone that walks through our doors is going to be treated with dignity, respect, and genuine care. And our goal is, again, to provide that to as many people in as comfortable as a setting as possible. When you enter treatment, it's such a brave decision and such an uncomfortable moment in the lowest ebb of your life. We want to initially make people comfortable so they can engage in our medical and clinical services as quickly as possible. And again, just be part of our kind of real loving environment and the kind of environment of change.
All right, Russ, such an important addition to the Fort Wayne community. Thanks for being on the show today and sharing with us about it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Sure. Gary, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Well, COVID-19 has drastically changed how students learn, especially those forced to take classes from home. Families have been thrust into juggling working from home, childcare, e-learning, and a lot more. Crossroads Education has come up with an education model aimed at helping Hoosier families meet those challenges through learning pods. And it's formed a new partnership with Next Studios. And we'll get details on how it all works from Crossroads Chief Executive Officer Kevin Burkopes and Next Studios Managing Entrepreneur John McDonald. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
This is, I think, a great example of innovation in education. And Kevin, I want to start with you because that was really, when you founded Crossroads Education, I guess 4 years ago or so, it was really focused on that, being innovative in education.
Yeah, so we want to redefine what innovation in education actually is. There's no one model that's going to fix the system. What we've kind of realized through this response with COVID and the pandemic is that there's a need for agility. And that's something in the education system that is fundamentally lacking. So our partnership with Next Studios is built upon the idea that we can push out innovative ideas that will actually change the system and build agility and disruption into something that we all now know needs changed.
Okay, I want to talk about this partnership that's going to really be, I think, expanded in the coming time frame. But the first focus is on these learning pods. When you talk about learning pods, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so the pre-COVID story was Learning Commons, as we've been on your show and talked about. And as we moved through this sort of COVID response, we started hearing from families that there was a big need for managing e-learning at home. We knew as subject matter experts in the education space that this was a new opportunity, and so we reached out to Next Studios to build what we're now calling and rebranded Crossroads as the Innovation Hub for Education in the U.S. This is a joint venture. It's the idea that we combine subject matter expertise, vision, and passion for education with the expertise and vision and passion for building companies, seeding them, and pushing them out. Learning Pods is the first iteration of this partnership. And it's really exciting about the team that we've created and what we can do in the community with this sort of work.
John McDonald, you're a leading voice in the tech community here in Indiana. You just launched Next Studios, a venture studio, just a short time ago. We had you on the show talking about it. Give us, really, first of all, a thumbnail of Next Studios and what it's all about.
Yeah, Next Studios is a brand new venture studio here in Indiana. It's designed to take ideas into products and products into companies. A lot of venture studios do that. For us, it's a little different. We're a B corporation or a benefits corp, which means we have a charter to go back and help our community do this and look for innovative ideas in places where the traditional venture capital system may not find these great ideas. And certainly that applies to what's happening here with Kevin and EdTech, and it's just a very natural relationship for us to make.
How's this going to work? How's this joint venture going to work, this partnership? And again, mentioned really the learning pods, Crossroads Learning Pods is that first piece.
Well, when Kevin first told me about the learning pods idea, my first question to him was, are you planning on spinning that out into a company? Because I think that that's an investable asset, and I think I can find some investors that would really be interested in that, because the implications are far beyond just COVID learning management. It actually allows for schools to be able to have learning pods in other cities and other places and be able to extend their brand or their type of education or their faith-based ministry outside the four walls of their organization. And that's something that could be really transformative to education as delivered. To do that, though, you're going going to need to form that product, and you're going to need to launch that product in the marketplace, and that takes money, and that takes venture capital in my world. And so it's a really natural partnership. We don't come up with the ideas at the studio. We have to find great ones like that, but we're experts, not in ed tech, but in taking those ideas into products and products into companies. And so I think this is just one of the first of a lot of really interesting ed tech technology that's going to come out of what it is that Kevin and his team are doing.
All right, Kevin, your expectations here. What can we expect from these learning pods, and how do you see that growing in partnership with the folks at Next Studios in this joint venture?
Yeah, I think it really capitalizes on the groundwork that's been laid over the past 20 years for why Indianapolis has looked to be an innovation hub for education. Some of the school choice movement and the things led to this idea and the ability for us to scale what we're doing. With a joint venture, we get to build a hub of innovation. We get to put it in Indianapolis, in Indiana. We get to build these products alongside a team, a really talented team like John and the rest of the Next Studios group. So Crossroads Studios really becomes a venture studio for ed services, disruptive companies. And we're to the stage now where we're going to look to build that type of agility into the system and really go out and change fundamentally the way that young people learn. And that's something we've been passionate about for a long time. With this partnership, we think it accelerates quickly.
Innovation in education, lots of examples here in Indianapolis. This is another one, a partnership between Crossroads Education and Next Studios. Kevin Burkopes, the CEO at Crossroads Education. John McDonald's managing entrepreneur at Next Studios. Thank you both. We look forward to following the progress of the learning pods and the impact on education.
Thanks, Gary. Really appreciate the time today.
Yep, thanks, Gary.
All right, guys. Well, Ivy Tech Community College says a site in Noblesville will become its 19th official campus. The site will be rebranded as the Ivy Tech Hamilton County campus, and the college plans to conduct a national search to recruit a chancellor. Ivy Tech President Sue Ellspermann tells Inside Indiana Business the transition will include the addition of a full slate of programs that are matched to employers and the needs of employers in Hamilton County. Ivy Tech says the Noblesville location has seen rapid growth since classes began there in 2014. Ellspermann says that new campus will have a large focus on technology. Also, enrollment at Purdue University's West Lafayette campus has reached an all-time high. The university reporting a record 46,114 students this fall, including an incoming freshman class of nearly 9,000 students. Meantime, Indiana University reporting 90,000 plus students are enrolled at IU campuses statewide this fall, 70% of them Indiana residents. It's the largest total of Hoosier students at any Indiana college or university. IU also reporting their campuses are the most diverse in the school's 200-year history. Well, it's time to vote for the best of the best among Indiana lakes, unique places to sleep, and donut shops.
Fingerhut Bakery is a bakery, a family bakery. We've been around we're closed in on 73 years. We started in 1946.
That's Fingerhut Bakery in North Judson, hoping to earn bragging rights as the best donut shop in the state. We'll have more on Visit Indiana's 2020 Best of Indiana People's Choice campaign and how you can cast your ballot. Also ahead, we'll introduce you to the first emotional well-being app for Black women, developed by an Indiana entrepreneur with an intriguing and inspiring backstory. That's all just ahead.
Spending a night behind bars isn't usually bucket list material. But here's something that might change your mind. Old Jail Inn in Rockville.
Now, if bunking up in the old Park County Jail isn't one of the most unique sleep experiences in Indiana, what is? It's one of dozens of businesses and getaways showcased in Visit Indiana's 2020 Best of Indiana People's Choice campaign. This year, Hoosiers can vote on their favorite Indiana lake, Wawasee or Monroe. Most unique place to sleep, a former county jail or a floating cabin on Patoka Lake. And best donut shop, Schmidt's Bakery in Batesville or Long's right here in Indianapolis. Visit Indiana Director Misty Weisensteiner joins us now with more on how you can vote and why it can be an important boost for the state's economy. Misty, as always, welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's always great to chat with you.
Okay, this is another initiative really focused on generating more activity and revenue and interest in the state's great tourism industry. Talk about the Best of Indiana, the People's Choice campaign, and really what it's all about.
Best of Choice, the Best of Indiana is really something that people look forward to on an annual basis. The Indiana Office of Tourism Development, now Indiana Destination Development Corp, has been doing this for several years now, and communities really embrace this competition. So what we did this year is we married it with our 20 and 20 campaign, and we chose two great things that you can do social distancing now. That's a big concern and a big thing everyone's interested in. Lakes, outdoor recreation, donuts. Who doesn't love donuts? And then, of course, unique sleeps. Indiana is packed with some pretty cool places to go visit.
Yeah, so interesting. So in each of these categories, there are a number of options when you look at lakes and recreational type areas, and you really made an effort, an emphasis on geographically making it very diverse.
We did. You know, we want people in the South to realize that there are great things to go visit and see in the central and northern part of the state, and then vice versa, too.
And you talk about unique. We mentioned the Park County Jail, which I think would qualify as unique in terms of the sleeps around the state of Indiana. That's another area where you can really get into some unique opportunities.
Did you know you can sleep in a teepee or a silo? You can even sleep in a castle and a yurt.
I did not know that. I thought I knew about everything about Indiana. And donuts, like you said, everyone loves donuts, and there are so many great donut shops. Long's here in Indianapolis and Central Indiana gets a lot of attention, but they're all over the state of Indiana.
They are. And you know, the donut shops have such a cult following too. People have that favorite donut shop that they love, but then the people that love donuts wants to know, you know, in these other communities across the state, where's the hot place, the best place to get the donut?
Yeah, and I think people are willing to drive to get those great donuts as well.
Yeah.
Misty, okay, how can people engage here? How can people vote and get involved in this People's Choice campaign?
Well, it's real easy. You can just go to visitindiana.com, and on the homepage there's a link that'll take you right to the voting. You can also follow our social media sites, and we post different tidbits about the nominees for this year's categories.
And again, very much a statewide flavor there, which we like here at Inside Indiana Business. Misty, before we go, give us your take on the tourism industry. Certainly the pandemic has impacted all businesses and all sectors of the economy, but you know, I think there may be an argument to say, hey, folks are staying closer to home. Perhaps that's had a positive impact on tourism here.
It absolutely has. And, you know, Hoosiers are doing what Hoosiers do and supporting one another. And whenever we started back in January with the 20 and 20 campaign, which the Best of Indiana campaign is kind of married with, once the pandemic hit, we took a pause in that campaign. And then the remainder of the 20 and 20 list really focused on the activities that you could do safely and getting people out for those road trips or short overnight day trips, overnight trips too, to take their family. Road trips are really becoming popular, and Indiana is a great place to take the family on that road trip, whether it be just an overnight or, you know, 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, Indiana's tourism destinations getting more and more high profile, which is a positive thing. The Best of Indiana People's Choice campaign, the latest initiative to really jumpstart even more activity around the state. Misty Weisensteiner, director at Visit Indiana and the Indiana Destination Development Corporation. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to following this event and much more going forward.
Get your votes in.
All righty. Well, unfortunately, another trade show canceling its Indianapolis event. The performance racing industry announced this week it is canceling its annual trade show, dealing another pandemic-related blow to the city's convention and hospitality sector. Now, before the pandemic, the December event, billed as the world's largest gathering of motorsports professionals, was expected to attract nearly 70,000 visitors and $65 million in spending. PRI and local officials had worked for months on staging a smaller event, but the racing organization said despite extra health and safety guidelines, it would not be able to have an event that was conducive to a productive trade show. Up next, a first-of-its-kind app created right here in Indiana, filling a huge void, helping Black women and women of color deal with their emotional well-being. Meet the Hoosier entrepreneur behind Exhale when we come back. Well, until now, most popular meditation and wellness apps have been predominantly led by white people. The pandemic and recent racial unrest prompted an Indianapolis entrepreneur, Katara McCarty, to change that. She's created Exhale, a first-of-its-kind emotional well-being app for Black women and women of color. The app, which is curated by Black Indigenous women of color, stresses self-care, relaxation, stress reduction, and inner strength. Exhale creator Katara McCarty joins us now with more on her innovation. Katara, thanks for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, and this innovation, we'll talk about the app in a minute, but this is really a product of the pandemic and quarantine. You really started thinking about things, and this is what you came up with in the middle of quarantine.
Yeah, you know, we got banned to be home, and I'm a coach and I'm a public speaker, so a lot of my business is traveling and being outside of my home, and so I lost over half my business. And so as I was managing my own stress and my own anxiety around being quarantined and the impact of that, I started really amping up my self-care practices and really trying to manage my own stress. And then the video of Ahmaud Arbery went viral. We heard about Breonna Taylor's death and killing, and then the George Floyd video went viral. It was almost like before the Black community, my community, could take its next breath, we were getting hit with another viral video. Also realizing that COVID was hitting the Black community disproportionately. And that was weighing heavy on me. It was weighing heavy on my community. Everything that was happening, we know, as a Black woman, I know happens, but it felt like it was being exasperated during that time. And all of the stress, all of the trauma, just trying to manage all of it, the meditation apps and different things I was going to felt like there was a bit of a disconnect for me. And I realized, man, what if I created something as a resource that I felt like I needed?
Right. Well, tell us about Exhale. It's a free app, and specifically it's tailored to Black Indigenous women of color. What's the app? What's it all about?
Yeah, so there's meditations in the app, there's coaching talks in the app, there's guided breath work, guided visualizations, things that I give my clients, work that I do with my clients, I put in the app. So it's more than a meditation app. It's an emotional well-being app. It's ways for you to decrease your stress, manage your anxiety, really get tools in your tool belt of life to live the life that you desire and the life that you deserve. The app is catered to us as Black and brown women. The language in there, I speak directly to our stressors, directly to the microaggressions that we face, the systemic racism that we face all the time, every day. I speak to our specific trauma, our hurt, our pain, our grief, our collective healing.
Yeah. I know you've been getting messages. You just launched the app less than a month ago. You've been getting messages from women. What are they telling you?
Man, it's been so beautiful to hear how specifically Black women are reaching out saying, this app is so timely. I needed this resource. I didn't know I needed it, but I need it. And I've been able to sit and unpack my pain and move through my grief and really to reduce my anxiety with the breath work. I had one lady tell me that her 11-year-old daughter has been listening to one of our guided breath works called Calm every night before she goes to sleep, because she has stressors too, right? With doing school at home and her life getting flipped upside down. And so it's been a really amazing, beautiful responses that we've been getting from Black and brown women.
All right. Exhale is the app. It is free. Katara McCarty is the creator. Katara, thanks for joining us. Exciting project. We look forward to following the progress going forward.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right. And I'll be right back after this. Stay with us. Well, coming up next week, the decision to go no smoking at the new Terre Haute Casino and Ivy Tech President Sue Ellspermann on a new campus. Thanks for joining us. Go out and make it a successful week.
Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is a production of Grow Indiana Media Ventures with support from WFYI Productions.